Hi, everybody. It's Georgia Reed from Cybercrime Magazine. I'm here doing another Ask the CISO interview. Ask the CISO is sponsored by Fortinet, and I'm here today, January 16th, 2019, with Debbie Wheeler. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thanks so much for coming down here today. We're in Atlanta today for the FutureCon event, and you are the CISO for one of the biggest companies in America, let alone Atlanta, Delta Airlines.
Yes, I am.
How long
Almost
have you?
2 years.
Almost 2 years in February, you said?
February.
Okay, so I just wanted to hear a little bit about yourself to start us off, your background as a woman in cyber, now the CISO at Delta. How did you get interested and involved in this area of work as cybersecurity expert?
So I've been in technology all of my career, and I started in telecommunications. So I was a network engineer for a company called MCI. And one day my boss came to me and under that other duties as assigned clause of my job description asked me if I'd be interested in taking on a project to tackle viruses. Mm-hmm. And at that time, viruses were something that dumped all the words in your Word document to the bottom of the screen or caused your spreadsheet to not calculate properly. So very different than what we're dealing with today. But I did that project, and soon any type of a security-related project was coming to my doorstep, and that's how I wound up in the field.
So you really enjoyed that?
I did. I really did.
What aspects of it interested you the most?
I think a couple of things. First, the mentality or the psychology of why people want to do bad things.
That is interesting, yeah. The crime aspect
The crime
of it.
aspect, absolutely. And then the problem-solving aspect of it.
So, how you said you went from telecommunications, and then from where did you go from there? Where did cybersecurity take you next?
So from telecommunications, I did a 2-year stint in the healthcare industry, and then from there I entered banking and spent 20 years of my career in financial services, working in cybersecurity.
So when you're at an airline such as Delta, how different or similar is it to working in healthcare and finance? What are some of the similar challenges versus different challenges that you face as a CISO?
I think there's probably more similarities than differences. I think regardless of the industry, if you're working in technology, we all experience the same challenges and problems. And it's certainly true in the security space. There's no shortage of bad guys trying to do bad things with technology. And while the attacks might differ by industry, the outcomes are usually the same. There's financial gain aspects, espionage aspects, and just pure chaos.
So how much data is under your purview? I mean, you're protecting not just the corporation, but also the customers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so how do you go about finding the best people and the best workforce to help you with that task?
Well, I'm fortunate to work for a great company. And so the Delta brand brings a lot of people to our door that might not otherwise show up. We've got a phenomenal culture at Delta, and people that want to experience that culture, it's a very employee-centric culture, will put their resume into our hands. So we find a lot of folks that are just really, really wanting to work in that environment coming forward. Having been in the industry for as long as I have, I've had the opportunity to work for a lot of great companies and see a lot of great talent. And so as I've moved to various positions, I've brought people with me. So I've been able to build a team by bringing people with me who I've worked with in the past. And then I think, too, as a result of our environment and Delta being 80,000 strong, very much a family environment, we get a lot of internal referrals. So a lot of people that have passion for Delta and are very dedicated to the company and serving our customers connect with and know other people that share similar passion, and we'll refer them to us. And we've made some great hires as a result of that.
So there's 80,000 employees at Delta.
Yes, there are.
Wow. Well, do you know how many are on the cybersecurity team?
We've got about 60 FTE, and then we're supported by a great group of contractors and a couple managed service contracts.
That's huge. That's huge.
It is, but we also have the advantage of 80,000 family members who are as dedicated to protecting our customers as we are.
So you train them meticulously on insider threat and phishing scams and things like that. How do you go about doing that? Any creative ways that you could share with other CISOs?
So we do a lot of the same things other security organizations do, I'm sure. We do the phishing campaigns, but we also bring in guest speakers on a quarterly basis. So we have a lot of folks who have come in and have talked about various topics in information security. We've had the FBI come in and make everybody a hacker for the day and
Oh, that's kind of
teach them
fun.
how to conduct phishing campaigns and what the value and the benefit is for the threat actor. So it gives them a different perspective and it helps them understand not just how to protect themselves, which we want them to walk away with, but how to protect the company, and it gives them a view into the mindset of why some of the threat actors do what they do.
I wanted to just get you on the record giving someone advice about going into this career. If they're looking for advice, what would Debbie Wheeler say about this career?
Go for it.
Just go.
Absolutely go for it. It's fascinating. There's challenges every day, opportunities every day, and you get to do good.
Yes, that's true. And it is. We do need more cybersecurity workers.
We do.
So, speaking of cybersecurity risks and threat actors, what is one area that you can speak to that you're particularly concerned about in general at work, but also outside of work for the general consumer?
I think what I worry about in my personal life is the Internet of Things and how many things we're building technology and Wi-Fi capability into. And I don't think that we have a full appreciation yet for the risks that we are introducing. And a lot of people don't have the advantage of having someone in their family or knowing somebody that is in the cybersecurity field that can help to guide them, or they may not have access to some of the information or the journals that we all read and have access to. And so they blindly implement these technologies thinking everything is fine and then wind up realizing that it's not. So I worry about that. I worry about it for my kids. I worry about it for members of my family. And yeah, that's probably the one thing that keeps me awake at night.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. So if you could speak to a grandma or a teenager or someone who isn't cyber savvy, what's one piece of advice you could give someone listening about protecting themselves when they start implementing these smart devices?
I'd say don't, but that's probably not the right answer. I would say find someone you trust who is technology savvy to help you implement it in the right way. So changing the passwords, don't allow the default password to stay in place.
Okay.
When your cable company comes to set up your home router, don't keep the default password in place, change it right away. I think that's probably the one easy thing people can do that gives them a layer of protection maybe they don't realize they're not taking advantage of. But definitely try and find someone you trust. Geek Squad, there's a lot of groups out there to help you set it up if you're not comfortable or familiar with technology. And let them know security is a priority for you.
I hear a lot of buzz about smart airports and smart, travel involving the Internet of Things, whether it's like a luggage tracking device or anything that has to do with Internet of Things in the airport. Are there any technologies coming out that you're particularly interested in when it comes to that?
Well, I think recently Delta made the announcement that we've implemented the first biometric terminal in the United States.
Okay.
So when you travel internationally through Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, you will encounter a completely biometric terminal. So from curbside to the gate, you can use facial recognition to check in without fumbling around for your passport or your driver's license. And then obviously we have partnership with Clear. So again, you can utilize biometrics to speed your process through the security line. And then you brought up bag tracking,
RFID,
which is great. So RFID tracking of luggage from curbside check-in or the counter check-in all the way to destination. It's been a great feature that our customers really, really love.
That's a lot of progress. So not only is it going to be easier for the customer to use the facial recognition or the biometrics, would you say it's more secure?
I would. I mean, we do obviously a lot of vetting of the companies that we work with. And in the case of facial recognition, yes, there are partners, and there's always the risk. We have the risk, the partners have the risk. But I think we're all very, very cognizant of what's involved here, and we're doing a lot to evaluate and ensure the security of the material, the data that is being passed.
Well, that sounds like an exciting initiative. I know a lot of smaller companies out there who are doing incredible things with new and innovative products, but they just can't seem to get to talk to CISOs. So what advice would you give them? What is it like being a CISO with all of these different vendors out there to choose from? And how has this changed over the course of your career?
When I first started in the field, there were maybe 24 vendors that actually focused any sort of product on security. Today, there's over 3,500.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's ridiculous. And everybody thinks they've got the silver bullet. Security budgets, while they're growing, are not infinite. And so when I look at product, I need to ensure that it's going to cover a multitude of concerns that I have. It can't just be a point solution. There are just too many vendors, I think, with point solutions out there. And while they may be really innovative and they may be really great technologies, it's kind of going to be a flash in the pan in a year or two. So I'm looking for technologies that allow me to address a broad array of threats and concerns that we have and integrate with other base products that we have in the environment. So I tend not to engage with a lot of point solution vendors.
Gotcha.
Because I'm looking more for the platform that I'm building capability on, or a tool that will do a multitude of things, or can replace a multitude of point solutions that I may have in my environment.
Possibly MSSPs.
In some instances.
Okay, in
Right.
some instances.
In some instances. You know, we've looked at managed services where we know that a managed service can bring either the skill set to the table that we're having difficulty finding, or is going to be a complement to skills that I already have in my team. So as an example, we have a SOC, an Internal Security Operations Center, but we also leverage an external provider for off-hours, weekend, and holiday coverage.
Interesting.
And they also have some capabilities that we don't have internally. It's more cost-effective for them to have it than it is for us. So things like just the education and the schooling and the training programs that they put their people through, for us to try and replicate that would not be cost effective. But leveraging their resources and their programs, we benefit from that tremendously.
When you need it.
When we need it.
Right. I was curious if companies such as Delta has any kind of internal or proprietary technologies that they use.
We do, but not so much in the security space. Okay. Most of what we're doing in the security space is best of breed product that's readily available to any security organization.
So it's already challenging enough when you have 80,000 employees, plus all of these consumers, the data, the technology, to have to kind of put together a bunch of point solutions to manage all of that is almost impossible.
It really is.
Right, I would think. Is there anything else that you're working on with Delta that you're particularly excited about, new technology-wise?
Well, I think at Delta, we're in the process of going through a digital transformation. And so we do a lot of work with Georgia Tech, which is where we happen to be today.
We're right here.
Through a collaboration called The Hangar.
Oh, okay.
And so that's our innovation lab, and being that we're part of this digital transformation and we're bringing a lot of technology into Delta, security is a big part of that. So we get to be a part of that innovation, looking at the new technology and helping the organization make determination about where it's appropriate, where it might not be.
So what are some of the key security focus areas for you in 2019?
Like a lot of CISOs, we're focused on operational technology. I think that's coming up more and more at the conferences I've been attending over the course of the last 2-year period. So we're very focused on our OT footprint. We're continuing to monitor the integration of things into our network and tracking how we secure those. We're always going to be very, very conscientious about third-party risk and vendor risk and insider threat management and monitoring. I mean, those are just table stakes, and we're very, very committed to those things. But I think if you look out at new innovation and new technology and where we're looking to get more involved, blockchain is certainly something that's coming onto the scene in the security space. So we've been working with partners to better understand how blockchain can not only help the airline, but help security as well.
Is there anything you could say about blockchain?
I think it's early stages, and we're waiting to see how it evolves and where it goes. There's a lot being done with blockchain in terms of identity management.
Okay.
So we've been monitoring that. We're certainly not at a point where we would be implementing anything that would leverage it, at least not in the security space, but we are monitoring it very carefully.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what comes of this.
I am too.
In the next year or two. So briefly, I wanted to switch gears and talk to you, Debbie, about being a woman in cyber. Just because we have a group on LinkedIn dedicated to helping women get advice and career advice, professional and personal advice in the cybersecurity workforce. As a woman in cyber, what would you say to other girls or women who are listening and want to know what it's like to work in cybersecurity, and is this a place for them?
So there are a couple of things I'd like to say. First, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Don't let anyone tell you you need a certain background to be successful. My team is partnering right now with a high school that has a work-study program here in Atlanta. So we have a team of 4 high school students that join my department every day, and they work alongside my team. And 3 of those young people are women, young girls. And when they came into our environment back in the August timeframe, none of them were looking actively at technology, let alone cybersecurity as a potential career field. We now have all 3 of them very interested in what we're doing, and all 3 of them have been exposed to a variety of aspects of cyber. So they see you don't necessarily need a math background or a computer science background to be successful. You just need to bring a really good work ethic and a passion for what you do. And if you can bring those 2 things to the table, the rest is easy to learn.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming down today. Debbie, is there anything that you'd like to say or leave off with to our listeners?
Support young women who want to pursue technology careers. And to the CISOs out there, we're all in this together. So the more information sharing and collaboration we can do, the more successful we will all be.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Georgia.